Now, my next guest has starred in countless hit shows, from Sex Education, of course, to The Crown. Away from acting, Gillian Anderson's releasing a new book. It's called Want. Well, it's a collection of anonymous sexual fantasies from women all over the world. She joins me now. So good to see you. Thank you. This is an education, a sex education.
Yeah.
You know, is that how it happened, because of the show?
I think probably. I mean, I'm not a sex therapist. I'm an actor.
But you're so convincing that we all think you are. That's the thing.
Well, apparently my agent was approached by many publishers wanting me to talk about sex, interview women about sex. But there was a book in the 70s called My Secret Garden by Nancy Friday. Which, and so the idea is similar to that, in that I put a call out to women around the world to write to me anonymously about their sexual fantasies. And it's absolutely fascinating. We got about, I can't remember how many we received. It was about 800,000 words.
Wow. Right?
And we whittled it down to, I think we've got about 174 letters. And they're absolutely extraordinary, because they are from women from around the world, different cultures, and very, very different preferences and relationships and identities. And so it feels like a really good cross-section. There's a fantastic range. And it's eye-opening. It's very, yeah.
It is. And we are, especially the British, very prudish. We can be very prudish.
Yeah.
I think it depends on your age as well, and your upbringing, of course. We don't talk about sex as much as perhaps we should. And I think a lot of us maybe think that this is what's so good about this, you see, because a lot of think, oh, that's a bit odd that we think that, or that's a bit weird that we want that.
Yeah.
And then when you see it written down, you think, oh, actually,
I'm not
somebody else. Yeah. Somebody else thinks that too, and that's good. And also to have a sense of humour. I mean, I love the fact that Tom Daley. Was it a crochet or a knit that he did?
Yeah. Yes. He did. Do you have a picture of that?
Yeah,
oh, yes, there we go.
He knitted a winky.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's very impressive.
Yeah, he did that for he knitted that for me at the same time that he was knitting a little a cardigan for my character Jean, which I wore in a scene, and then we auctioned off the cardi for charity.
See, I love that.
LGBTQI charity.
Great cause. Were you
letters.
Surprised by the amount of letters that you got and the content of them? How honest people have been.
So honest.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how honest. I mean, I submitted my own letter, which is in there, and I'm not a prude. I've been around the block a few times, feel like I've seen and heard everything. And yeah, I really struggled to write down my own fantasy. Yeah. It's very different to have it in your head than it is to actually put the words on a page, regardless of whether you're going to flush it down the toilet or show somebody. It's just the act of it. But it was really eye-opening. I felt like I learned something about myself in the process.
Do you think it's just women who are going to read this? Is it aimed specifically at women?
Well, I've already heard from a couple of men who've read it that they want to give it to their daughters. I mean, obviously, we're hoping that sons will read it as well. But usually when we see sex today, it's in the context of men and pleasure for men, not women's pleasure. And certainly the porn industry is very much through the male gaze. And I think because of, as we're seeing, I'm sure you've talked about on the show, the amount of toxic masculinity that seems to be on the rise, they feel that it was a good antidote to that. Yeah. So, and I was doing an interview yesterday for Gay Times, and the journalist was absolutely obsessed with it, had already identified which his favourite fantasy was going to gift it to 3 of his girlfriends. So it seems to be appealing to a lot of different people.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, acting, you're working right now, I think, Canada? You're filming in
Canada?
Yeah,
I'm shooting a Netflix series. It's a Western, 1854 Western in Calgary. Right. I've been there riding horses and...
Beautiful. Yeah. It's a gorgeous part of the world. It's absolutely lovely. I was just thinking of all the roles that you've played in so many. I wonder what Mrs Thatcher's fantasy would have been.
Well,
if she would have written you a letter, could you imagine?
At some point, I was sent a fanfic that was a threesome with Margaret Thatcher, Neil Kinnock, and Mikhail Gorbachev.
Right, well...
I didn't get very far into it. I didn't read all that much of it, but...
And whatever floats your boat, and
whatever floats your boat.
Turns you on, and it's
absolutely
all in here.
It's all
it's
of it
in
is
Want.
in there. Absolutely all of it.
It's so good to talk to you. It's so good to see you. Thank you for this, because we do need to talk about this. It's important.
It is important.
And with a sense of humour and with a sense of joy and all of that. Ooh, interesting.
Ooh.
Thank you. Right, Want is out now.